What does it mean to compose a presentation, write in a speech, write in a slide deck, putting together a set of visuals that you will talk about? Whether you envision your presentation as a speech or a conversation with your audience supported by slides, props, and flip charts, you'll need to develop content that engages the audience and meets their needs. If you're developing a slide presentation, you will also need to design a slide deck structure that individual slides that support your presentation without boring or distracting or even confusing your audience. This section explains the 7-step process illustrated in Figure 11.5 for developing effective slide presentations. Organizing your content consists of composing an opening that engages the audience, organizing the middle of the presentation so it's easy to be understood, and then composing a memorable conclusion. Establish rapport. At the beginning of your presentation, your audience wants to connect with you. They want to know who you are and feel confident that you've designed the presentation with their needs in mind. To make that connection, introduce yourself and identify common ground that you share with your audience. Motivate your audience to care. An audience will care about a presentation if they believe it is valuable to them. Does your audience have a problem that you will solve? Is there a need for change? Are you identifying an opportunity that they can take advantage of? Is there a specific way that your audience will benefit? Let's dive deeper into items 3 and 4. Capture attention. Research shows that information relevant to the audience's goals and intentions is especially attention-getting. So get your audience involved right from the start of your presentation with information that is personally relevant to them. Cite a surprising fact or statistic. Tell a relevant story or anecdote. Quote an expert, someone well-known, a familiar saying, or even someone from your audience. Or consider asking a question. Provide a framework or map. Audiences easily get lost or bored if they cannot anticipate the twists and the turns your presentation might have. Provide specific directions about the content at the beginning of the presentation helps them stay on course and follow your logic. This roadmap then becomes your agenda. You can return to it throughout the presentation to make transitions between different sections, while you can provide that as a bulleted list. Audience will find a visual representation far more engaging and memorable. A presentation is easiest to follow when it has a clear and simple organization. Within the organization, you can provide as much data as you need to establish your goal as long as you're focusing on the following points. Focus on points that are meaningful to the audience. Limit the number of key points. And finally, present your information using a recognizable pattern. The end of your presentation is as important as the beginning because the conclusion is the last thing the audience hears, and it may be the first thing the audience remembers days or weeks after your presentation. This is called a recency effect. Compose a powerful conclusion to your presentation by using at least one of the following strategies. Very typically, you use all 4. Summarize your main message. Ask for what you want. Visualize the outcome for your audience, and then make the next steps clear. If your presentation leads to future actions, outline the next steps and identify who is responsible for what. A simple checklist or timeline can effectively display the content and provide a visual reference. Before you begin to develop your slides, you need to identify how to plan to use your presentation. Typically, you'll choose between 2 different types of presentations with 2 different uses: standalone presentations or visual aid presentations. Standalone presentations, many business presentations, require that your slide decks or set of slides you prepare for the presentation serve as a reference document after your presentation, and they need to communicate effectively to people who don't attend your presentation. A standalone presentation has 3 very distinct features: an agenda slide that communicates the main points and the logic of the presentation, the sentence style, message headlines that summarize a key point, and then support material in the body of the slide that helps explain the headline. In Figure 11.9, it illustrates a slide from a standalone presentation. Visual aid presentations. Visual aid presentations ideally devote more space to various forms of illustration that focus the discussion and demonstrates the points. The slide figure 11.10 is from a presentation promoting a culinary tour of France. The slide is visually appealing, but a presenter really needs to be present to explain the points orally. In a standalone presentation, the headlines tell the story. Once you know the organizational content, you can begin outlining in a series of slides by creating a storyboard. The concept of a storyboard comes from the film industry. Traditionally, a filmmaker will plan a film scene or vision by including notes and direction for filming. Applied to the presentation, a storyboard is a slide-by-slide sketch that helps create a story flow based upon the organization you developed. A storyboard also helps you see the big picture of the presentation before you get too involved in the creating of the individual slides. To create a storyboard, sketch boxes for your slides or use note cards or post-its and write a headline on each box. Then sketch your vision of the body for each slide and how you will support the headline and illustrate that idea. In Figure 11.11, it illustrates a storyboard for the Rowan Gray presentation. In business communications, a presentation slide design should always be secondary to your message. If you don't want your audience to focus more on the template's images, colors, and borders than the message itself, the best approach is to keep your slides simple, so your audience can concentrate on the content. The guidelines in this slide are explained in a little bit more detail in your text. After you finalize your template, you can begin designing and composing individual slides. Using the guiding principles of less is more, too many people use slides as their speaking script, crowding all that blank space with detailed text. With so much content in a slide, your audiences can't focus on anything. Ironically, if the slide contains less information, your audience will absorb more of the content. This less is more principle applies to both text slides as well as data slides. Text slides. The bullet point layout is the default layout for new slides in most presentation software, including PowerPoint. As Figure 11.14 in the text will illustrate, bullets are clearly a better choice than dense paragraphs of text because bullets can help the audience see the relationship among ideas at a glance. Bullets work best for lists. To make the bullets easy to read, be sure they are both logically and grammatically parallel. In other words, all the items should begin with the same part of speech and be phrased in the same way. Figure 11.14 illustrates a before and after version of a slide that has been revised for parallelism. Limit the number of bullets on a slide to 6 or 7 at the most. For visual aid presentations, also limit the number of words per line to 6 or 7. For standalone presentation, you may need to use more words. If your slide presents ideas that are not a logical list, eliminate the bullets and present this content in text boxes, shapes, or diagrams. If you choose to present text in the form of a diagram, be sure to choose a shape that reinforces its contents. Data slides. In business presentations, you'll often need to represent numerical data on slides. As Figure 11.17 illustrates, graphs typically do a better job than tables of showing the relationships between numbers and the meaning of that. As you design your slides, you may focus more on how a slide looks than on how you will present the slide. This is why it's important to practice presenting each slide and then to revise each slide to make it easier to present. As you evaluate your slides, consider both the arrangement of content and the animation. Are the slides easy to present? Consider the ineffective slide Figure 11.18 represents, which presents data about the potential number of total prescriptions for a medication, organized by region. The slide is clean, clear, and easy to read. However, it would be difficult to present. What message do you see in this slide? What would you want to say about the market potential? Because the regions are ordered geographically, from east to west, no clear message is obvious. By contrast, the effective slide in Figure 11.18 11.18 is much easier to present because it orders the regions by meaningful criteria, potential market size. Are animations effective? Well, practicing your presentation not only allows you to evaluate individual slides, but also helps you make a good decision about whether to use slide animations. Generally, use animations only if it helps you present a slide effectively and if you believe it will help your audience better understand your points. If you choose to use animations in a presentation, follow some very basic guidelines. Be consistent within the presentation. Use only one technique, appear, dissolve, fade, wherever you use animations within the presentations. Be conservative. You may think it's entertaining to have images fly in and out. However, it could be very distracting to your audience as well. When possible, show the whole picture or list first. Then fade that picture and begin the animations. Audiences often understand individual points better once they've seen the big picture first. Practice. Presenting an animated slide is more effective than presenting one without animation. Practice delivering the slide so you know how to take advantage of the animation. If you find the animation difficult to present, remove it from your slide. You can create handouts, documents that are distributed to your audience during or after a presentation. In many forms and standard formats, handouts may include slide miniatures, slide with notes pages, supplementary data and information. Sample handouts are shown in Figure 11.21 in your text. When creating handouts, use guidelines that are provided for you in the text. Finally, the textbook will provide for you some excellent pros and cons of using Prezi. Please review this information carefully.